Discover 5 sinister wilderness horror stories that will haunt your outdoor adventures forever. The Johnsons parked their SUV at the foot of the dense Ozark woods, laughter bubbling as they grabbed their gear. Emma, their youngest, squirmed with excitement, her bright eyes sparkling like the sun filtering through the trees. The familiar scent of pine mingled with earth as they ambled toward their favorite clearing. The anticipation wrapped around them like a warm blanket. This trip was sacred, a tradition binding them tighter each year. But laughter faded as dusk descended. Camp set, the fire crackled and the stories began. Did you hear about the hiker who vanished without a trace? Dad's voice was a low rumble over the flames. The kids leaned in, their faces illuminated by flickering light. They found his backpack weeks later, eerie like a ghost town, he continued, casting shadows on their anxious expressions. Some say the forest takes lives to feed its hunger. Emma shuddered, glancing toward the wood's darkening depths, but she didn't interrupt. Scraps of tales about vengeful spirits crawled under their skin, yet they were united in their chuckles, enveloped by the camaraderie. Just then, a flicker of movement caught Emma's eye. Curiosity tugged at her. She wandered off, the laughter fading behind her, as she brushed aside branches that whispered their caution. She stumbled upon an unmarked grave, the earth still disturbed, a shallow mound with long fingers of grass barely covering it. A chill gripped her heart. She backed away, fear coursing through her like icy water. This secret was hers alone to bear. She glanced back toward the firelight, the warmth of her family now far away. The wind rustled ominously, but she swallowed her dread and returned to the storytelling. The night deepened quickly. The air turned heavy, thick with unspoken anxiety. One by one, their phones lost signal. Panic danced in the pit of their stomachs as they fumbled for GPS. Totally erratic. It'll come back, Mom reassured, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. An unsettling silence spread like a heavy quilt, wrapping around them. The wilderness felt alive. Branches creaked like brittle bones, howling wind warped their words, and shadows flitted just beyond sight. Did you hear that? Emma whispered, her voice small. No one responded immediately. They exchanged nervous glances, trying to dismiss the growing tension in their hearts. Dad chuckled, nervous laughter that felt foreign. Just the wind, kiddo. But the shadows seemed to listen, to watch, as the darkness thickened. As they considered calling for help, that when he appeared, a ranger sauntering from the trees. Lost, are ya? He asked, too cheerful for the despair blanketing their camp. His smile had something lurking behind it, a shadow uncertain, unnerving. I can help. His words curled around their fears, twisting them into something darker. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The ranger's voice became an unsettling echo in their minds. Each word he spoke wrapped around them like nightfall, sowing discord. The forest was shifting, hungry for their confusion, crafting a sinister bond over their growing paranoia. Emma's secret thrummed in her chest, pleading for acknowledgement. As dawn hinted at breaking the night's chokehold, they realized they were ensnared, trapped in a web spun by ancient fears entwined with family turmoil. Each heart raced, shadows slinked closer, packing dread into every breath. Emma held her family tight, but the whispers grew louder. The woods craved to keep them forever, and the ranger's intent felt more nefarious with each heartbeat. Fear clawed back as they caught an ominous statement from him. You know what they say about those who wander too far into the dark. The woods listened, their past clinging close. The Johnsons were caught in a nightmare that threatened to unravel everything they thought they understood. Would they escape, or would the very forest they cherished consume them, one by one? The fire hissed, its glow casting flickering shapes on the surrounding trees. The ranger stood there, a twisted smile etched on his face. His eyes evaluated them, sharp and piercing, as if he could see right into their souls. Emma squirmed, aware of the weight of her secret pressing down on her like a leaden shroud. "Are you going to tell them?" the ranger asked, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Tell us what?" Dad responded, his bravado cracking slightly. "About the woods," the ranger said, his eyes glimmering like the firelight. "About what they take, and what they give in return." The words slithered into the air, thick and suffocating. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, each beat drumming a desperate warning. She wanted to scream, to pull her family away from this man and the encroaching shadows. But her voice was lost amidst the rising fear. "Let us hear it." Jenna, her older sister, challenged. "What's your story?" The ranger took a step closer, the murmur of the wind falling into an unnatural hush. "It's a tale as old as these woods. They say the forest hungers for those who have strayed too far from the light." A terrible stillness enveloped them. Emma thought of the grave she had found, the disturbed soil. The thought of what lay beneath sent a shiver racing down her spine. "You see, not all who wander return," the ranger continued, his voice almost melodic now, wrapping them in its chilling embrace. "And not all who die lie quietly." Emma's parents exchanged glances, hesitant but intrigued. The fire crackled, the only sound in the growing silence. "There's something that lives here," the ranger said. "A spirit, if you will. It can give you what you desire, but it demands a price." "What kind of price?" Mom asked, her voice shaky. The ranger leaned back, grinning, as if savoring their fear. "Ah, the price is different for everyone. Maybe it's a memory, a feeling, maybe even one of your own." Emma felt sick. She clutched Jenna's arm, the warmth of her sister grounding her, even as dread threatened to swallow them whole. "Enough with the games." Dad erupted, standing abruptly. "This isn't funny. We just want to leave." "Leave?" The ranger laughed, hollow and mocking. "Leave this forest? It's not that simple." Without warning, the shadows around them seemed to pulse. The trees shifted, as if alive, and Emma could have sworn she heard a whisper wrapped in the breeze, a voice calling her name. Panic coursed through her. She refused to look back toward the woods, but she felt them watching, felt the pull of something ancient lurking just beyond the reach of the firelight. The ranger tilted his head, intense curiosity written across his face. "You're scared, aren't you? Of what's in the dark, of the unknown? Just shut up." Jenna shouted, her voice quaking. "Do you want to know what it wants?" His tone shifted, much darker now. "It wants to know your fears, to feed off them. And every offering makes it stronger. You've already stumbled into its grasp." Emma squeezed her eyes shut, fighting against the waves of thick terror. She was haunted by visions of the grave, the terrifying truth that lay beneath the ground, bodies never resting. The ranger stepped back, the shadows closing in. "A choice will have to be made tonight," he said, voice barely a whisper. "You won't escape its seductive pull. It knows your secrets. And when the morning comes, one of you may not see the dawn." Mom's breath quickened, Dad's fists clenched. Emma felt her throat constrict. They were caught, their fate hanging in a balance tipped by dark desires, and in that moment, the forest around them stirred again, restless and alive, a living entity poised to claim them. What do we do?" Mom's voice cracked under the weight of fear. Before the ranger could answer, the trees roared as if in response, and a deep, resonant voice echoed from the shadows. "You will choose or you will lose." Murmurs swelled, crashing through the air, and Emma's heart raced like never before. What horrors awaited them when daylight broke? Would they even make it to morning? As the fire flickered, casting long shadows, they stood on the brink of a choice more terrifying than they could imagine. What secrets would the forest reveal? The shadows pulsed, deepening around the flickering fire, and a terrible weight settled on Emma's chest. She could feel the tension vibrating in the air, a promise that something dreadful was coming. The ranger's words coiled around her mind, squeezing tighter and tighter. Emma, the whisper summoned her name as softly as silk but felt sharp as glass. Goosebumps rippled across her arms. What do you desire? She tore her gaze from the ranger, turning to her family, their faces pale and stricken. Jenna looked ready to bolt, her eyes darting nervously between the woods and the fire. Mom's lips quivered, and Dad clenched his jaw as if willing himself to stay strong. But inside, he looked just as frightened as the rest of them. The ranger stepped back further into the shadows, his grin widening. Who will speak first? What horrors are you keeping close, hidden beneath your brave facades? What do you want from us? Dad shouted, anger rippling through his voice. Just a confession. The ranger leaned forward, the firelight glinting off his twisted features. A truth to trade for a wish. I can already feel how much you all want this. Emma's heart raced. She bit her lip, suddenly understanding the sinister twist of his game. Each of them had a secret, a fear that could be twisted and turned into bargaining chips. As her mind raced, she felt an icy finger trace down her spine, whispering that the shadows of the woods knew her truth. What do you want, Emma? The ranger's voice was syrupy, beckoning. Is it something you've lost? Something you crave? No. She cried, stumbling back. You can't have anything. Jenna shot her a look that screamed back. What if we don't give him anything? What if we just leave? The ranger laughed, a dry, haunting sound that echoed through the clearing. Leaving? Here, you're entangled now. The forest won't let you go so easily. Suddenly, the trees creaked, bending toward them as if caught in a breeze that never came. Emma could sense their anger, their disappointment. A cold dread sank down into her bones. She glanced at the edge of the woods where the darkness thickened, where the whispers grew louder, and called to her. Mom, we have to go. We can't stay here. Emma urged, panic rising in her throat. But before anyone could respond, a figure broke through the underbrush just beyond the fire's light, a silhouette cloaked in ragged shadows, its movements jerky and unnatural. Emma gasped, her eyes widening. Help! The word came out, barely a whisper. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that twisted and roiled like smoke. It looked familiar, yet she couldn't place it. Help me, what are you? Mom whispered, recoiling. The ranger's eyes sparkled with delight. Do you see? That is the forest's offering. It knows your wishes, your fears. Look closer. Are you willing to pay the price? The flickering flames danced wildly, illuminating faces twisted in horror, heartache thickened with regret. Emma felt her pulse race, each thump a feral drum urging her to flee. As shadows closed in around them, she caught a glimpse of something buried in her own psyche, a memory, aching and raw, clawing its way back to the surface. She could taste the bitterness of truth, feel the weight of choice pressing down on her like never before. Emma, the voice from the figure croaked, echoing from the depths of her soul. You can save us, you just have to choose. The ranger leaned closer, his mere presence dripping malice. The night is growing thin. You must choose before it's too late. Remember, the woods have their way of demanding payment, and they won't wait until morning. An overwhelming realization washed over her. The forest hungered, and someone had to pay. But who? As the darkness wrapped around them, an unbearable silence fell. The fire crackled and sputtered, casting fleeting shapes in the void. Emma felt her heart pounding at a frantic pace. One of them would have to sacrifice something dear to make it through the night. What choice would she make when every path threatened to lead to damnation? The forest shrieked with 1,000 voices, each whisper slicing through the tension hanging in the air. Emma's gaze darted among her family, each face etched with horror, as if a dark curse had been cast upon them. That figure so familiar, yet lost within the swirling shadows held the pulse of her worst fears, and she couldn't shake the growing dread that it had something to do with the truth she harbored within. "Emma," the ghostly figure croaked again, eyes glimmering with desperation. "You're stronger than this. You know how to save us." "Stop!" Emma shouted, clenching her fists. "You're not real. None of this is real." But doubt began to seep between the cracks of her conviction. The ranger stepped closer, unfazed. "Is that what you truly believe? Or is it just what you want to believe?" The shadows writhed, as if they fed on her uncertainty. Jenna, trembling beside her, reached for Emma's arm. "What do we do? We can't stay here. We have to fight him." The ranger spread his arms wide, laughter echoing like breaking glass. "Fight? Ah, my dear, that would be futile. You cannot wrestle shadows. They are the essence of your fears, and they know you. They love you." With every heartbeat, the whispering trees pressed closer, their gnarled branches like skeletal fingers reaching for Emma. She could feel the weight of their judgment, a baleful audience eager to witness her downfall. "No more secrets," the ranger purred, low and sinister. "Let us air them out. Your family binds you, Emma. You all share the same fear. I'll never tell you anything." Emma spat, voice wavering. But inside, the truth clawed at her chest, a tangible weight yearning for release. "Then tell me, dear sister, what does Jenna fear most?" The ranger's gaze shifted to her sister, mouth curling in an expectant grin. "Or perhaps it's your mother. No family is free from darkness, not even yours." Jenna recoiled, shaking her head vigorously. "Stop. Don't." There was a mass of fear buried beneath her words, unspoken truths swirling dangerously close to the surface. Emma felt suffocated, trapped between the figures looming over her, the oppressive shadows crowding in. "I want to let you take them. I want to." Her voice broke, urgency spilling through fear. "Then you'll have to choose, Emma. One must pay the price to uncover the truth. Who will it be?" The ranger leaned closer, eyes glinting like polished obsidian. "What will you bargain? Sacrifice for the rest?" The air grew thick with tension, a silence so loud it roared in her ears. For a moment, hope flickered like the dying embers of the fire. Would they all perish, or could she find a way to save them? It twisted like a knife in her gut, the figure at the edge of the firelight contorted, twisting into something more ghastly, its features swirling until it morphed into a pale reflection of herself, eyes sunken, cheeks hollow, a harbinger of her darkest despair. "Choose, Emma," the ranger taunted, every inflection dripping with malice. "Choose. Or I will choose for you." Mom grabbed Emma's arm, anchoring her in place. "Emma, we have to stick together. We have to resist." "Resist what?" The ranger cackled, stepping back, allowing the shadows to dance with menace. "What binds you together will also tear you apart. Will you let the forest take what it craves?" Just then, a gust of wind sliced through the clearing, stirring the flames and casting camouflaged shapes in dizzying patterns. Emma's pulse quickened as she weighed her options, pulse echoing in her ears, a rhythm against the oppressive silence that threatened to smother them all. "Time is fleeting," the ranger warned, leaning closer, breath hot and foul. "What will you sacrifice?" As the shadows lengthened and the forest seemed to close in around them, Emma's heart raced, the choice looming more terrifying with each passing second. Could she afford to save them all? And then, as if the woods responded to her thoughts, a sudden quiet settled around them, an almost eerie stillness that left nothing but the crackling of dying flames and her heartbeat echoing in the space. Something had to give. The figure spoke. Again, voice lined with desperation. "Emma, if you want to save us, you must look deep inside before it's too late." With that, darkness surged at the edges of her vision, pressing in, ready to devour everything. What would it take to set them free? Before she had time to think, a whisper trailed through the air. "Choose wisely, as the night will not wait for you." The silence shattered like glass, and Emma's breath quickened. Fear surged in her chest as she fought against the tightening grip of the shadows. The ranger's mocking eyes bore into her, the ghostly figure melding with the increasing darkness, each pulse of her heart drawing her closer to a decision she was terrified to make. Think, Emma. Don't let him twist your mind. Her mother pleaded, her voice trembling as the oppressive air weighed down their sanity. The trees creaked and moaned as if animated by some unseen pain. Emma could see their branches waving, beckoning her to surrender. Just a choice. That's all it takes, the ranger hissed, his voice echoing with sinister promise. She felt her knees weaken, the ground beneath her turning to a swamp of dread. Please, no, come now, he urged, his tone sweet, but lit with malevolence. You know the truth. You just have to say it. A low, guttural whisper pulled at the corners of her mind. What if it was easier to admit their darkest fears? The ranger grinned, sharp teeth glinting in the shadows. What if I just said, I'd do anything to save them all? The words slipped from her lips before she could grasp their weight. Anything, you say? He laughed, an inhuman sound that made the ground shake. Interesting. Sacrifice one, save the rest. Jenna shrieked, eyes wide. No. Emma, don't. But the shadows curled toward Emma, drawing her into their cold embrace. Panic fluttered beneath her skin, a tide of pleading from her family fighting against an overwhelming urge to release her secrets, to free her heart. They'll be safer if someone takes the fall, the hollow reflection sneered, swirling back into existence, each echo mirroring Emma's uncertainties. No. I refuse. The conviction surged, her voice rang clear, but deep down, she felt the shadows gnawing at doubts. The forest was alive and watching, hungry for her decision. Choose now, Emma, the ranger demanded, and the shadows thickened around the firelight, clutching at her family. Or I will choose, and the price may be dearer than you can imagine. A thick silence followed, stretching across moments like an eternity. The shadows only closed and tighter, wrapping themselves around her soul. Her pulse crested into a pounding alarm as she grasped for any shred of courage left inside her. Your truth will always haunt you, just like your past, the figure taunted, its voice a shrill echo of her own fears. Reveal it, and you will gain what you desire. Emma's mind raced as visions of her family flashed unbidden through her thoughts. She could almost feel their warmth, their love, but the weight of her sins hung heavily. Could she truly be the one to save them? What do you truly fear? The ranger pressed. That's where your answer lies. The ground trembled again, branches scratching at her skin like accusing fingers. Time was slipping, each heartbeat a countdown to darkness. Emma glanced at Jenna, her sister trembling, eyes wide with terror. Okay. Emma gasped, the confession bubbling up, raw and unrestrained. I can't lose you, I can't. But before she could utter another word, a cacophony pierced through the grove, drowning out her realization. Shadows danced, blocking her way, thickening into a wall before her, denying any escape. A voice within clawed at her chest, screaming to be let out as time collapsed in on itself. No, no, no. She pushed back against the weight of the urge to reveal it all, fearing the repercussions. I want to choose, I refuse to choose anyone. But the forest pulsed with life, leeching off her resistance, waiting for her to break. Then expect my choice to be made for you. The ranger hissed, lurking closer. Emma's world felt like it was unraveling as shadows crept toward her family. They were fading, slipping from her grasp as their forms blurred into darkness. No! She cried out, but the words sounded small against the rising chaos, and a sudden gust swept across the clearing, carrying a hint of promise and dread. The wind whispered secrets of despair, and Emma was left dangling between fear and the truth she had buried for too long. In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. What was she willing to risk? As the shadows surged forth, ready to claim their price, a fierce determination ignited within her, shimmering against the darkness. Her eyes locked onto the Ranger's, brimming with resolve. "I will not let them go," she shouted, her voice fierce like a vow, but was her defiance too late to change the outcome? "What will you pay, Emma?" the Ranger sneered. And the forest held its breath, waiting for her answer, ready to deliver its own verdict. But perhaps the real torment was not only the choice she faced but what would arise when she reached for the truth that lay buried deep within her. The wind howled, a lamenting cry echoing through the trees as Emma clung to her defiance. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs as if it were trying to escape. The Ranger's eyes glinted, a mixture of excitement and menace flickering within their depths. She could feel the shadows swirling, hungry for her decision, seeking to burrow into her soul. "Face it, little girl," he taunted, voice smooth like silk yet laced with venom. "You know what must happen." Emma's gaze darted to her family, their silhouettes flickering like dying flames. Jenna's face was a mask of panic, her mouth moving in silent pleas, while their mother was consumed by a ghostly pallor, fear etched across her features. Every fiber of Emma's being screamed at her to save them, but the weight on her shoulders felt insurmountable. "Give in." The Ranger cackled, shadows wrapping tighter around him, his presence pulsating with dark energy. "You can't hold out forever." Emma's mind spun with desperation. Was sacrifice, even if only for one, a fair trade? The thought gnawed at her, dark tendrils creeping into her consciousness. She remembered the shadows tugging at her in dreams, whispered secrets in a voice not her own. What if the truth will only bring more pain? She breathed, her whisper lost among the rustling leaves. "Ah, but the truth will set you free or bind your family in chains," he hissed, step by step moving closer, their breaths mingling in the chilling air. Suddenly, Emma's memories flooded back, childhood fears, unspoken words, a past she thought she'd buried. The day she witnessed a tragedy. It was her silence that had caused pain, not just her own, but her loved ones too. Sets of eyes looming in the darkness around her didn't just belong to the present, they were echoes of the past, warning her not to repeat her mistakes. With renewed vigor, she steadied herself. "I'll never give in to you," she shouted, fighting back the shadows wrapping around her like a shroud. "You think you can control me? You're wrong." The Ranger's mockery fell silent, replaced by an ambient hum. The shadows writhed, seeming to hesitate for the first time, pulling back as if fearing her rising resolve. But the darkness was wounded, not vanquished. It surged again, this time more aggressively, like a predator sensing its prey had slipped from its grasp. "Do you really think your strength of will is enough to save them?" he sneered, waving a hand towards her terrified family. "You're only delaying the inevitable." The ground trembled, and the trees groaned, branches reaching out like fingers grasping for the last remnants of light. Emma felt an immense pressure in her chest, as if the forest itself was funneling the weight of every secret, every dark thought she had ever entertained. "Let them go," she screamed, not just to the Ranger but to the shadows, willing them to retreat. "I will not let you take them." But the shadows twisted, morphing into figures of her past moments of fear, betrayal, and guilt. "You think you can run away from your truth?" they taunted, their voices a chilling chorus, each one a reminder of her failures. "No." Her voice cracked as she felt the darkness pressing against her mind, the fear of her secret spilling out like a broken dam. "You can't control me." Emma understood what she had to do, but fear clawed at her throat. Could she push through? The Ranger surged forward, a cruel smile plastered across his face. He was so close now, she could feel his icy breath wrapping around her. "Now, let us seal your fate." But before he could finish, a sudden burst of light exploded from Emma's heart. She didn't know where it came from, but it broke through the suffocating darkness and echoed through the clearing. Jenna shrieked, and her mother gasped, as if reflecting light off a mirror. "Stop it!" Emma bellowed, forcing herself to confront the memories that threatened to swallow her whole. "You are not my end." The shadows recoiled, and for a brief moment, even the ranger faltered, confusion flashing across his twisted features. And then she relived it. The moment she lost everything, grief erupted inside her. The truth, once hidden, surged to the surface with an unbearable weight. Would sharing it mean losing herself? In that moment, a decision sparked a new fear deeper than all the darkness combined. The truth would be her only weapon. But could she wield it without doom? The forest trembled, shadows swirling ferociously, waiting. The ranger's eyes narrowed, dark anticipation radiating from him. "What are you going to do now, Emma?" he whispered, voice thick with malice. As the ground shook, the question she feared hung in the air. Just how much was she willing to risk? And then, just beyond the trees, a sudden, unearthly cry shattered the silence. Something else was coming, something darker. What had she released from her own past? The shadows recoiled like startled animals suddenly aware of danger. Emma's heart thundered in her chest, each beat a reminder that she was still alive, still fighting. She felt the pulse of energy around her raw, churning, and the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. Light flickered around her in a halo, battling shadows that writhed and coiled, desperate to reclaim their dominance. The ranger's eyes widened, a mix of rage and astonishment crossing his features. "What have you done?" he spat, his voice jagged with disbelief. Around them, the darkness hesitated, momentarily subdued, as if drawn in by the sudden backlash of light radiating from Emma. Then came the cry again, louder, haunting. The sound slithered through the trees like a wisp of smoke, curling into her ears with twisted familiarity. It echoed memories of fear, of long-forgotten promises and truths hidden so far beneath the surface. It wasn't just a sound. It was a reminder of what she had buried. "Emma," a voice whispered, soft yet piercing. The call drifted from the depths of the forest, melding with the shadows in an eerie lullaby. Emma, her family's faces twisted in horror as they heard it too. Jenna's gaze locked onto Emma, wide and pleading, as if trying to communicate some unspoken dread. Their mother clutched her chest, eyes darting nervously between the ranger and the encroaching darkness. Emma felt their fear, it intertwined with her own, pulling her in all directions. "Come, Emma," the voice taunted once more. "You know the truth." She squeezed her eyes shut, the pressure of choice crashing against her as the shadows twisted again. Reminders of her darkest days filled her mind, screams muffled by silence, tears swallowed by shame. They were all her own secrets, branded into the very essence of who she was. And here they were, tugging at her reality, ready to unravel everything she had fought to protect. "Stop it!" Emma shouted, her voice cutting through the confusion, piercing the thick fabric of uncertainty around her. "You can't use those memories against me. I want to let them go again." "Futile," the ranger sneered, his smug grin re-emerging. "You think your trivial oath can save them?" But with each echoing cry, something sinister stirred in the background. The forest hummed with anticipation, as if preparing for a confrontation. She sensed it, a monstrous presence lurking just out of sight, drawn by the chaos unfolding before it. In that moment, Emma knew she was out of time. "Enough!" she roared, her voice filling every crevice of the darkened glade. Emma forced herself to open her eyes, feeling the pulsing light within her fighting against the shadow's grasp. "I will not succumb to you." With that declaration, Emma acted. She reached down deep into her soul, past the layer of fear, into the raw, unfiltered truth of who she was. Memories surged forth, the laughter of her family, moments of joy overshadowed by unfathomable sorrow. She embraced it all. "This is who I am," she shouted, unleashing her grief, her guilt, her love. Suddenly, something broke free. An overwhelming light shot from her core, a blinding flash that illuminated every corner of the clearing. The shadows wailed, twisting in agony as if burned by the truth she wielded. The ranger staggered back, his expression shifting from mockery to pure terror as whatever external influence had controlled him faltered against her light, but just then, the rustling intensified. Ancient roots began to churn, and the enormous scream turned into a monstrous roar echoing through the trees. The dark shape pushed from the depths of the forest. Something infinitely more terrifying was coming, something ancient and vicious, thirsting for revenge against the truth that Emma dared to unleash. As darkness collided with light, uncertainty knotted in Emma's stomach. What had she awakened? The ranger laughed hoarsely as if tasting the chaos. "Welcome to your trial, Emma. You've unleashed your past, and it comes with a price." With the shadows swirling and the monstrous roar growing louder, Emma felt her grip on reality slip. She had ignited a fire, but had that fire become a consuming inferno, what would rise from the ashes? The atmosphere thickened, a tangible weight pressing down on Emma as the monstrous roar erupted again, reverberating through her bones. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and for a moment, she feared the ancient roots would rise to ensnare her, dragging her down into the earth. "Emma, stay close!" Her mother shouted, panic surging through her voice, but Emma felt tethered to the light pulsating within her. The ranger, now a mere thought in her peripheral vision, seemed to shrink away from the emerging nightmare, the confidence from moments ago evaporating like mist. Then the darkness burst forth, a creature born of night, a grotesque blend of shadow and fury with elongated limbs and gaping, hollow eyes that reflected nothing but an insatiable hunger. It lumbered forward, its form shifting, melding into the very shadows it thrived upon, leaving trails of darkness that seemed to consume the light around it. Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Run!" Jenna screamed, pulling their mother back, but Emma stood rooted, clutching the light within her, her heart racing against the terror uncoiling before her. "Face it, Emma." The voice from the shadows taunted, thick with derision. "This is where it all began, where your laughter was turned to sorrow." No. She was not going to fall apart again. The memories surged, a wave of warmth amidst the chill of fear. The laughter, the joys, moments lost but not forgotten. "You won't take them from me," she shouted, defiant against the abyss that slithered toward her. The creature hesitated, as if her words were impactful, slicing through its darkness. But then it lunged, a gust of blustery night cloaking the clearing. The light around Emma flickered under the dark surge, threatening to snuff her out completely. "Is this all you have?" she cried, her voice shaking but strong. "You're just a reflection of my fear." With that, she thrust her hands forward, channeling every ounce of emotion she could muster, pushing brightness out like a shield. It burst free, radiating into the shadowy maw, meeting the creature head-on. A violent clash erupted, a brilliant explosion of light and darkness. Emma felt herself pulled in two directions, her body almost splitting between the light she commanded and the darkness clawing at her resolve. The creature shrieked, a sound that echoed pain and rage. Its form wavered, flickering like a dying flame as the fibers of shadow began to unravel, but the cost weighed heavily on her. Each heartbeat echoed a price she had yet to comprehend. "Keep fighting!" Jenna shouted from the edge of the clearing, her voice piercing through the chaos. But amidst the struggle, Emma caught a glimpse of fear etched deeply into her sister's eyes. The shadows reached toward her family, tendrils stretching and curling like serpents hungry for destruction. "No!" she cried again, desperation coiling tight in her chest. As the creature writhed, flickering between existence and oblivion, something unexpected unraveled at the edges of the darkness. A figure emerged, a ghostly silhouette half-formed, eyes wide and haunted. Emma's blood turned to ice. It was her, but not the Emma of valor and light. This version was curled into despair, crushed beneath the weight of shadows she thought she had escaped. "What are you?" Emma whispered, breath hitching. The phantom smiled, a haunting, sorrowful thing before the echoing voice returned, this time void of malice. "You cannot fight what you do not understand." As realization dawned, Emma's grasp on her light grew fainter, the shadows lurked closer, seductive like whispered secrets. She hesitated, caught between the truth she had fought to preserve and the painful truth she had long tried to forget. With a darkness breathing down her neck, Emma struggled to escape the hands of both the past and the present. The forest shivered, held hostage between her resolve and the void that yearned for her surrender. What had she awakened? And could she confront the truth before it consumed everything she loved? In that moment, the darkness surged forward, ready to swallow her whole. The shadows lunged at Emma, engulfing her in a cold, suffocating embrace. Her heart pounded in her chest like a war drum, each beat reverberating with fear. "Fight!" Jenna shouted, her voice thin and strained, barely penetrating the oppressive darkness. The shadows, alive and writhing, sought to encircle her family. Emma could feel their tendrils brushing against her skin, a chilling reminder of despair's promises. Abandonment, loss, hopelessness, desperation clawed at her throat. She couldn't let it take her. Not now. Not ever. "Jenna!" She screamed, but it felt as if her voice was swallowed by the darkness itself, like screaming into a void. Instinctively, she extended her arms, summoning the flickering light that had inspired her moments before. "Face it," the voice from the shadows echoed anew, twisting her memories. "You've always been afraid, afraid to be alone." But she wasn't alone. Her family was here. In a surge of resolve, Emma forced the light outward, illuminating the surrounding darkness. It fought back, raging defiantly against her, but she held firm. The contrast between her luminescence and the void was stark. With each pulse, the tendrils recoiled, yet the phantom twisted and writhed, creeping ever closer. "You're not me!" Emma shouted into the abyss, determination igniting within her. The light flickered but surged higher, battling the encroaching darkness. The specter of her former self faded momentarily, distorting into a pitiful, shrieking wail, a sound that gripped her heart with visceral terror. "Join us!" it pleaded, voice sweet as syrup yet painfully insistent, like nails scratching against glass. "You can't resist what you are." Emma's resolve faltered, just briefly. Memories rushed back, the warmth of love, laughter in the sunlight, faded happiness all but drowned out by pain. "No!" she shouted, her voice shaking, but her spirit hardened like steel. "You're just a memory. You can't take me." The light surged stronger, and for a moment, the shadows hesitated, as if her defiance had shocked them. They recoiled, twisting back into themselves, chaos rumbling to a stuttering stop. Emma seized the fleeting opportunity, rallying her energy like a drowning swimmer grasping for air. "Together!" she shouted, sweeping her hands towards her family, the light growing brighter. Thoughts of her mother and Jenna flooded her heart, grounding her in love and unity. Instantly, the golden glow enveloped them, forming a shield against the night. Elongated limbs of darkness writhed and shrieked as the light expanded, pushing them back toward the heart of the forest, where the ancient roots began to stir, but the darkness had a pulse of its own, and the whispers grew louder. "You think you can escape us? You can't outrun what you've buried deep inside." The ground trembled again, as creeping roots surged up from the soil, twisting and snaking toward her like eager fingers. Emma glanced back at Jenna and her mother, their eyes wide with terror, finally understanding the depth of this fight. "Hold on!" Emma yelled, pushing more light into the air, weaving it like a tapestry, but fear clawed at her heart with icy talons. They had to leave this dark place, but how? The shadows were relentless, tearing at the light, inching closer, hungry for their fear. Then she saw it, a flicker of hope amidst the chaos, a path through the dark. The way out appeared as if the light sought to carve a way through the very fabric of the nightmare. "This way!" Emma cried, grabbing her sister's hand, but as they turned to flee, the shadows clawed back, latching onto Jenna with unseen forces, dragging her towards the dark abyss. "Emma!" They heard her cry, a scream soaked in terror. "No! Jenna!" Emma screamed, her heart shattering as she felt the bond with her sister fraying. But a chilling voice echoed beneath their screams, "Do you dare leave me behind?" In that moment of despair, Emma stopped. The flickering light surrounding her dimmed, wavering. Was she truly willing to risk everything for a chance at escape? Would she sacrifice Jenna for her own survival? The darkness surged, seemingly sensing her hesitation, pulsing with victory. Emma stood at a crossroads, one step closer to the light but with a devastating choice looming before her. What would she choose? Would she succumb to the shadow or fight for her family? The tendrils of darkness tightened around Jenna, and Emma felt the cold grip of despair wash over her. Was it too late to save her? The darkness writhed and roared, every pulse striking terror deep into Emma's core. The specter of shadows had her sister. They were so close to escape, yet the shadows tightened their grip like a serpent squeezing its prey, hungry for the chaos Emma felt blooming within. Let her go. Emma screamed, the desperation ripping through her like venom. The shadows hissed, slithering around her voice, taunting her, feeding on her fear. What will it be? Choose your own freedom, or fight for the one you love. The ranger smirked from the edge of the chaos, eyes gleaming like shards of glass. Will you run, Emma? Or shall you face the truth? In that moment, clarity washed over her like a sudden wave. The truth hidden yet ever-present was what she had feared. Her darker self, the memories, they were not the enemy. They were a part of her journey, tethered in the fabric of love, pain, and family. Jenna. She called, her heart steeped in a mix of resolve and anguish. Hold on. Fight them. Fight for us. Jenna's terrified eyes met Emma's, fear and defiance warring within them. Emma, please. The shadows jerked and snarled, rippling with their victory, but Emma's voice, resolute, rang out stronger now. You're not just shadows. You're memories. Each of you carries a piece of who I've been, but I choose who I am now. Her words ignited something within her. The light she summoned flared up in response, brightening the clearing as if the sun had come to chase away the night. Pulses of energy surged up Emma's arms, she drew in strength, filling herself with every ounce of love and every joyful moment she had tucked away. Together, we are stronger. She shouted, reaching out toward the encroaching darkness with one hand, and toward Jenna with the other. You fool yourself if you think I'd leave her behind, or abandon the bond we share. The shadows writhed, twisting and contorting, as if they were alive. The ranger staggered back, the gleam of malice replaced with uncertainty. No. You cannot resist your truth. But Emma would not let go. She felt Jenna's grip tighten around her hand. Don't you see? She shouted. You're nothing without me. Without my understanding of you. The darkness recoiled, the shadowy forms gurgling in outrage, releasing Jenna ever so slightly. Emma willed her sister's freedom into being, drawing from the light that flickered within her heart. You are the past, but I am my future. As if sensing the shift, the creature's roar turned into a wailing cry. It lashed out, but the light repelled its reach, scattering the tendrils away from Jenna. Emma! Jenna cried, her face twisted in effort as she fought the shadows. Emma could see Jenna's determination, the same tenacity that had kept them together through every family trial. Gripping Jenna's hand tightly, Emma gathered every ounce of strength within. We'll make them listen, Jenna. The shadows lunged again, but the light they created surged with newfound vigor, infiltrating every dark crevice. The ranger screamed as the brightness tormented his forms, unraveling the illusions he had woven. Face it. Emma shouted again, holding fast. You want truth? Here it is. As the light engulfed the clearing, the shadowy figures hissed and shrieked, retreating from their vibrant glow. They writhed and twisted in agony, revealing flickering glimpses of her past, every joy, every sorrow. No! The ranger howled, his form splintering against Emma's light. You'll pay the price. No! Emma roared, steady and fierce, her heart alight with fierce defiance. I decide my cost. Then she extended her arms toward her sister, together. With one final push, the light erupted, encasing them in warmth that chased away the shadows, dissolving the darkness clinging to them. The specter of shadows vanished, screaming into the void, their need for fear and despair vanquished by Emma's powerful resolve. The fog of despair parted like curtains unveiling dawn. Emma and Jenna stood in the clearing, breathless, wide-eyed under the newly brightening skyline. They turned to their parents, who surged forward as the grip of the shadows faded. "Are we safe?" Mom asked, her voice shaky but filled with relief. For the first time, Emma smiled, feeling the lightness of love fill the space around them. "We're free," she breathed, holding Jenna close. Emma stepped forward, embracing her family in the soft light of morning, feeling the warmth of hope pressing against her chest. But the woods, once alive with shadows, now echoed of something deeper, a lesson carved into their hearts. The forest may tremble with secrets, but they were stronger together, bound not just by blood, but by an unyielding love that could shatter shadows and face down every fear. As the sun broke through the horizon, a fresh breeze whispered through the trees, carrying away the remnants of darkness. With their dark night behind them, the Johnsons emerged reborn, bound tighter than ever before. Then Emma glanced back at the woods one last time. They were now a blend of soft light and shadow, each revealing the power of her truth. "Let us go home," she said softly to her family, and together, they stepped into the light of a brand new day. As they walked away, a lingering reminder of the past echoed behind them, but their bond would guide them forward, forever united against whatever darkness lay ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Don't hesitate to flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.